former President Joseph Kabila for being a great founder of the IFCM 23 rebels, which according to Kinshasa causes insecurity in the eastern part of the country, calling him a collaborator and the leader of this political and military movement. For his part, former President Joseph Kabila also judged the Kinshasa government for sowing terror among civilians and prioritizing injustice and the dictatorship in the DRC.
Zimbabwe has issued permits to cull at least 50 elephants on a reserve where there are 3 times more elephants than the habitat can sustain. This is according to wildlife authorities in the country. The Save Valley Conservancy in southern Zimbabwe is said to be home to roughly more than 2,500 elephants, though it has a carrying capacity of 800 elephants. Channel Africa correspondent in Zimbabwe, John Kasim, explains.
Survey Conservancy, according to the reports, it has 2,500 plus elephants, yet they are supposed to be having about 800 elephants. That's what the habitat can hold. But now they are saying they want to cully about 50 elephants so that they reduce the number. The elephants are destroying the habitat, and that is becoming a danger to themselves as well as the environment. But this is not the first time that we have heard the government talking about culling of elephants and trying to create space for other animals, like small animals as well.
Lastly, today marks the beginning of the annual Hajj pilgrimage, a monumental spiritual journey that sees millions of Muslims converge on the holy site in Saudi Arabia. It's a testament of faith, unity and devotion. In South Africa, a contingent of pilgrims have been preparing for months. Hawa's Bibi Vauda Zayar, who is in Mecca, explains.
Hajj is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. It means to go on pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca in Saudi Arabia during the stipulated days in the Islamic month of Dhul Hijjah. Hajj comprises of 4 main acts of worship which must be completed during their stipulated times in order for pilgrims' Hajj to be valid. Today is the first day of Hajj, the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. At dawn, pilgrims must take a bath and wear special clothes called ihram. We then perform 2 units of prayer and make the intention to perform Hajj. This step is the first of the 4 pillars of Hajj.
Recapping on your top stories, Nigeria's Defense Chief of Staff General Christopher Musa has called for the country's borders with its 4 neighbors to be completely fenced. This, he says, is to assist in curbing the entrance of armed groups amid escalating insecurity. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Nzinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Good morning, Africa. Thank you so much for joining us right here on Channel Africa. This is the best place to be if you are in search of the African perspective, if you are Pan-African at heart and you stand for who we are. And of course, you want to disseminate or hear information from the very same perspective that you live by, that African perspective. That's exactly what we do here on Channel Africa. Thank you so much to the morning team. That's Africa Rise and Shine with Peter Ndoro and Asanda Bet, and of course the rest of their team for kickstarting our morning there. It's now 7 minutes past 9 Central Africa time, and it's time for On the Move with myself, Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama. Lots to chat about as usual, so tap in on our streaming platforms. Find us on our website, www.channelafrica.co.za. Our audio bouquets are DSTV, channel 802, and OpenView HD, channel 628. And of course, we can be found on the SABC Plus app. It's a great app, lots of information, lots of content over there. And Channel Africa can be found there under the radio section. You know, mental health conversations are happening more and more on social media. I particularly think this is an amazing thing because we're sort of breaking stereotypes of things that you can or cannot speak about openly. And the more people speak about their mental health, those stereotypes are slowly breaking down. So hashtags like mental health tips have garnered billions of views on social media. However, to every good thing, there might be a downside. Because as the popularity of these online spaces grow, it does bring concern over the accuracy and reliability of the information that's shared quite carelessly sometimes on social media. There have been recent investigations that reveal that a significant portion of mental health content on TikTok in particular may be misleading or oversimplified. So what are some of the downsides of this? Maybe the oversimplifying of mental health content through social media, and how exactly that impacts those who are seeking for advice on those platforms. We'll discover how to navigate these virtual landscapes with discernment and care. Registered counsellor Adib Maharaj will be joining us on the line in the first hour of the show. We then move on in today's second hour. The third EU African SME Summit is taking place for the very first time on African soil from the June the 19th to the 21st, 2025. This will be taking place at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange here in Johannesburg, South Africa. The summit is all about scaling Africa's sustainable future through the African Continental Free Trade Area, as well as the EU Global Gateway Strategy. And it's an opportunity to spark collaboration, unlock investment, and position small and medium-sized enterprises as the backbone of Africa's development. We'll be chatting on this with Stefan Moritz, Secretary General of EU European Entrepreneurs, CEAPME, in today's second hour. That's going to be a very interesting one. And then we head on into our Live Well feature. That's where we speak all things health. Today we're speaking about thyroid disorders. Last week was Thyroid Awareness Week, and it's important to understand that there's so many people around the world that are at risk of thyroid disorders. In fact, 1 in 8 women will develop a thyroid disorder in their lifetime. Dr. Dashni Naika will be joining us in our final hour, the Healthcare Medical Director at biopharmaceutical company Merck, about the significance of this theme and why thyroid health is important. So there's a lot to chat about today.
Yeah, there's a lot to chat about. You are listening to us on all those wonderful platforms: DSTV, Channel 802, OpenView 628, and don't forget the SABC Plus app, where you can watch us 24/7 on the radio station section of that app. Download it on your phone, or you can search for it. You can also use it on your desktop. There's a website that is SABC Plus, and you can really find us easily there on those multiple platforms. Hey, it's going to be an interesting one today, from mental health to African summits. Let's find out what's happening here on the African continent.
Annika Longi sur Channel Africa.
Nous allons danser au son de Haya, que je dédicace à vous tous, chers auditeurs, qui êtes en train de suivre cette émission Mix Vibration. N'oubliez pas, vous pouvez nous suivre à partir de l'application SABC+. Vous choisissez Channel Africa pour suivre l'émission en direct. Nous allons danser au son de Haya.
Annika Longi, tous les dimanches sur Mix Vibration.
Ahoy, matey!
Captain here to help, right, boys?
Set sail with us on a digital voyage like no other. Channel Africa has a treasure trove of awesomeness. That is our website and social media pages.
Tell me, why are you here?
We want you to be part of our adventure.
The winds are changing, Captain. And this time...
Imagine a world where curiosity knows no bounds, where entertainment meets enlightenment, and where every click leads to the African perspective. Visit us on our website, www.channelafrica.co.za, or follow us on Instagram or on X at Channel Africa 1. Go on, like us on Facebook at Channel Africa 1. So, spread the word. Tell a friend that Channel Africa's online variety is what they need On the web, Channel Africa, the African perspective. Get set and be ready to go. On the move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama.
You know, the more and more you go on social media, or the more time you spend on social media, you'll realize that there's been a really open community of people speaking quite openly about some of their own mental health issues, and another side with people who give quite a number of mental health tips. At first glance, this is incredible. I think it's amazing because there's been so many stereotypes and stigmas over many years on mental health issues, especially, you know, mental health issues being seen as something that needs to be hush-hush. Don't speak about it. You're not allowed to chat about it. It's embarrassing. And a lot of communities try and stifle people who are going through mental health challenges. But because of social media, some of those stigmas are broken from people just being being upfront about their own mental health challenges. And this also offers people, I guess, an avenue to also speak out themselves or just to connect in that particular space. Hashtags like mental health tips have garnered billions of views on social media, and they create a virtual community where individuals seek support and understanding. However, as the popularity of some of these online spaces grow, there's a big concern on the accuracy and reliability of the information that's shared on social media. In fact, recent investigations have revealed that a significant portion of mental health content on TikTok may be misleading or oversimplified. And this, of course, could be a huge issue for someone who goes there to look for some mental health tips, receives a one-size-fits-all approach that may not exactly work for them. So we're delving into the world of TikTok mental health advice, examining the fine line between helpful support and potential harm, and discover how to navigate this virtual landscape with discernment and care. Joining us on the line is registered counselor Adib Maharaj. Thank you so much for your time, Adib. I think it's an incredible thing to see more and more people speak about mental health and raise awareness through these social media platforms.
Good morning, Palesa and Benjamin. Thank you for having me here today. It is an important topic in general to have a discussion about. So I wouldn't be surprised if social media has been like talking about it, has a couple of hashtags about it as well. Yeah.
You know, there have been in the past so many, in fact, not just in the past, even these days, there are still stigmas that are associated with mental health. And that speaking out that people are doing on social media, it might be helpful in breaking down some of the stigmas and removing that silencing of mental health issues, right?
Yes. So for many years, there has been a stigma around mental health. There has been a stigma around like if you go see a therapist or if you go see a psychologist or a psychiatrist, they will something is definitely not right with you. But we've tried to over the past few years or over the recent years, we've tried to really sort of normalize it, sort of say that going to see a therapist or going to see a counselor or a psychologist or just to visit a psychiatrist is the equivalent of seeing a doctor, which has worked over a period of time.
Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, in the societies that we live in, not everyone has the luxury to go see a therapist, a psychiatrist, because we come from so many different spaces, and we know that the majority of people live below the poverty line, and sometimes therapy are seen as luxuries to many. And so we do have social media. We go on TikTok and we're like, well, I'm experiencing something that this person is experiencing. Maybe I should try what they tried. And people go there and say, hey, you should take ashwagandha or something. There's something like that that's been making the rounds on social media for your anxiety, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna try and take that. I go to my local store, I buy it. It doesn't work, and in fact might even make my own situation worse. Tell us, let's speak about some of those, the dangers of TikTok mental health tips.
Okay, so there's something that I usually say in my therapy sessions, or when I do talks, or when I do psychoeducational talks for companies, or my social media platform, if you must say. I say that people see psychologists, or therapists, or counselors at a time where they are most vulnerable. So what do I mean by that? I mean that people have ways of coping with their mental health challenges, or with challenges in general: stress, anxiety, sadness, depressive symptoms. So they have their own coping mechanisms, right? Some would go to gym, others would smoke cigarettes, others might have alcohol to calm it down. But they go and see a therapist when none of these coping mechanisms work, and that is the time where they go. So that's vulnerability. And then you have a conversation about how expensive mental health is, and you're right. So when it comes to seeing the psychologist, we are paying in thousands per session. Registered counselors are a bit cheaper. Let's say a bit more affordable in that essence. But they're still pricey. And we also have to take into account how many sessions that person has to do, so it might end up being more pricier than that. So what do? We go online and we go onto our phones and we download a couple of these social media apps, and we go through it. We look for relatable content. Sometimes relatable content finds us through as we continue to search.
Yeah.
And if it's catching you, then you're gonna try it. You want a quick fix, and that's also another topic we can talk about, the quick fix factor.
Yeah.
And so you want a quick fix, you will try it. Maybe 1 or 2 days it will show some benefit, but it's not long term at all.
All right, we need to take a break. Adib, stay on the line with us. Excuse me. We'll come back and continue speaking about this, and also how, we as individuals need to navigate these social media spaces, and what exactly we need to discern when taking in information about mental health. It's 20 minutes past 9 Central Africa time. We'll be back after this.
Africa. It's time to plug into the heartbeat of the continent. Tune in to Channel Africa, your go-to radio station that broadcasts in 5 different languages.
L'Afrique du Sud célèbre la journée nationale du
Kabla hujaitwa kwa jina la Double K or more of our forests have been destroyed.
Tamo kutuli bwanji ndi Partido Africano da Independência da Guiné.
See, Channel Africa represents every corner of this amazing land. From Lagos to Cape Town, Nairobi to Dakar, we've got you covered with the freshest news, music, and cultures. So, turn up the volume, feel the rhythm. And join the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Hi, I'm Tammy Ngubeni, anchor of Africa in Business on Channel Africa, bringing you the African perspective.
And I'm Ashraf Garda, host of the National Pulse on SAFM, leading the conversation.
We've joined forces to bring you in-depth, exclusive G20 developments as we count down to the much-awaited inaugural G20 Summit in South Africa, November 2025.
Tune in every Thursday at 16:20 Central African Time as we explore how this first G20 in Africa impacts the continent, from trade and innovation to climate and development.
It's a powerful crossover between Channel Africa and SAFM
as we bring you the G20 through an African lens.
The G20 in Africa.
Global Summit.
An African voice.
9 to 12 midday, Central African Time. On the move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama.
All right, 22 minutes past 9 o'clock Central African Time. Today we're speaking about social media, scrolling on TikTok and thinking, hey, those are the best mental health tips that can actually be helping you. However, this can be misleading. Not all content, of course, is misleading, but you have to double check, especially when you have a TikTok offering that, gives you that shared personal space, that's making sure that maybe you feel like you are coping when you're not, and at times giving you superficial advice. How do you make sure that all that is actually helping you in terms of making sure that you're getting the right information? We're speaking to a registered counsellor, Adhip Maharaj, who is joining us here on the line to speak on this. Adhip, the advice on social media is very different to an advice that you'd probably get from an expert. And one of the reasons this is very different is because the person on your TikTok who is speaking generally on mental health is not necessarily doing any diagnosis. So you could be getting information that's not relevant for your own mental health condition.
This is quite accurate. So when you are speaking to a therapist, you are speaking to a person who has trained for quite a number of years to identify symptoms, to identify diagnosis, to identify or even to identify normality. Right? There's a thing that says that not everything that a person feels is a mental health disorder. So sometimes we don't understand what we're feeling, and we sometimes can say, okay, maybe I do have a mental health disorder. But that's why it's important to have a conversation with a professional. So like I said, it comes back to what I said about vulnerability and the advantage that TikTok has. So it's short, it has a solution, and it catches people. So you will go at a time when you are feeling vulnerable, you will go and you will have a look at social media, and you will take it as advice. It is advice. Is it medical advice or mental health advice? I don't think so. To some of them at least. But yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, what should you be actually taking on social media as advice, and how should you actually make sure that there's verification, even if there is, an influencer speaking on a mental health condition?
So, on social media, I can say that this is a bit of a biased one for me. I don't know how much of research they're doing, but as therapists and stuff, we try our level best to get the most current research available. So that could be journal articles, and that could be training workshops that we could do as well. And because we look at that, we try and find the best alternative to help manage anxiety, to help manage depressive symptoms, to help manage anger issues, so to say. I have the assumption that a person, a TikTok influencer who has no qualification with regards to any kind of medical or any kind of mental health or any kind of degree in that nature, or allows them to qualify to practice in that nature, is putting something in Google, right? And they're spitting out, they're generating, and they're putting out these small solutions, and people are buying it. So it's a glorified way of videoing what people would actually type in Google for symptoms.
Mm-hmm. And as we wrap it up, I mean, what would your recommendation be? Because I think it is important that there is a dissemination of information on social media around mental health. But do you think also you should be looking at the people who are disseminating the information? Because now you're getting psychologists, you're getting therapists, you're getting people such as yourself that are out there in many platforms and are actually putting the correct information out. Do you think the source of the information matters?
I think the source of the information matters. It matters because it's credible, right? So we want things that work. you're not going to trust the doctor that says this antibiotic came from TikTok. No, you are going to trust the doctor because he is in practice for many years and he's been using this antibiotic for however long he was in practice. The same thing with us. We have tools. We have guided meditative tools. We have grounding tools. We have emotional identification and management tools. All of that is done within the practice room. It's done within therapy. It's done within sessions. Sometimes we do post it up on social media. But I think one of the most important things that I want to say is that people need to be responsible. And I'm not talking just about the people that are viewing content. I'm talking about the people that are posting these content or these images or videos about quick fixes on mental health. So just be responsible. Even as therapists, as we're marketing ourselves online, we have to be responsible with what we post, because, like I said, we are talking to a very vulnerable population, people that do need help, and they are desperate for that kind of help.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you for giving us your time. Thank you for joining us here on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, that was our guest speaking on that intriguing conversation on mental health advice on social media platforms like TikTok. Have you ever found something on a TikTok and you're like, okay, this is interesting, but then you're like, I'm going to check it. And then when you do double check and you feel like, no, this wasn't the accurate information that I actually needed on this on this matter. Have you heard like double messaging as well? Because that happens a lot on social media where one thing means something and someone else gives it a different meaning. Give us your thoughts on this one. +27 63 406 9126. +27 63 406 9126. So, well, let's quickly move on right now. It's 9:30 Central African time, and let's see what our sports has for us.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
And a very good morning from the sports desk. I am Musibu Dimakura with the latest sports news at the Sawa. So Indian superstar Virat Kohli was overcome by emotion as the Royal Challengers Bengaluru finally broke their IPL duck with a 6-run win over the Punjab Kings in the final at the Narendra Modi Stadium in the city of Ahmedabad on Tuesday night. It saw them finally lift the title for the first time after a long 18 years since the IPL was first launched back in 2008. Only two teams from that edition, the losing finalists, the Punjab Kings as well as the Delhi Capitals, are yet to lift the famed trophy. But no player could have been more worthy than Kohli, who has been one of the members of this team from the original start of this competition, having lifted all manner of other trophies internationally as well as domestically. But he finally, of course, adds this one to his trophy cabinet, which he admitted was right up there with the best in the world. A number of former RCB stars also were at the game to watch them finally get over the line, including former Proteas legend A.B. de Villiers as well as former West Indians cricket legend Chris Gayle. On to football news now. Kenya's Michael Olunga has officially left Qatari giants Al Duhail, bringing an end to a remarkable 4.5-year spell that saw him become the club's all-time top goal scorer with about 130 goals. Now, Al Duhail confirmed the striker's departure in a heartfelt statement posted on the official website, praising Olunga's professionalism, discipline, as well as immense contribution to the club's recent successes. Olunga joined the Qatari side from Japan's Kashiwa Reysol in January of 2021 and hit the ground running. Reflecting on his departure, Olunga expressed pride in what he was able to achieve during his time in Doha. The Nairobi-born striker also left the door open for a possible return, hinting that he could one day rejoin Al Duhail in another capacity. Back home now, Banyana Banyana wrapped up the Three Nations Challenge in style on Tuesday afternoon, beating Zambia by 2-0 at the Lucas Masterpieces Moribe Stadium in Pretoria in a tightly contested and often physical clash between the two regional neighbours. After a goalless first half, the South African senior women's team stepped up the intensity in the second half, with Bongia Gagamede breaking the deadlock in the 74th minute with a stunning free kick, her first goal for coach Desiree Ellis' side. The momentum then stayed with Banyana Banyana and Jermaine Seposwenwe doubled the lead in the 82nd minute to secure the win as well as the title for Banyana Banyana. Let's hear from coach Desiree Ellis as she reflects on that performance and of course winning this title.
Today, this was a true team effort. I think we stuck to the game plan. We denied them space. We moved the ball around quickly, and I think that's what got us. We settled down better. We pressed them when they had the ball, and those were some of the things that we worked on, but we still have a lot of work to do. There were some moments where they got behind us. We need to be better at that. Some moments, especially in the middle of the park, we gave the ball away unnecessary. Late in the second half, we did some silly things at the back, and we need to manage that better, play the game in their off. But other than that, happy with the performance. So
Zambia, who came into this fixture after a 1-1 draw with Botswana a few days ago, posed a tough test for Banyana Banyana throughout that game. Their coach Nora Haptul admitted that her side struggled to convert key moments into goals.
Well, I think the first half belonged to us. I think we had a good control in defense, in the mid-press, entered into some good transitions out of it. At the moment today, we just missed this absolutely danger, this kukakata. We have not been in the last pass precise enough. So we should use one of these transitions and play it a bit out better. I think in second half it was a bit an open game on both sides.
And finally, in tennis news, Australian Nick Kyrgios says he will miss this year's Wimbledon after suffering what he calls a small setback on his latest return from injury. Kyrgios, who was beaten in the 2022 final at the All England club by Novak Djokovic, has played very little tennis over the past 2 years because of a troublesome wrist that required surgery. In March of this year, at the Miami Open, the 30-year-old won his first singles match since 2022, but later pulled out of the French Open with a knee injury, where he had been scheduled to play men's doubles. Wimbledon will get underway on the 30th of June. And that's a wrap from the sports desk at the Sawa. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, send us an email. That's to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. It is 9:34 a.m. Central African time for Channel Africa Sport. I am Musibu Di Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa at Play with NATO and ETO chairman.
The Confederation of African Athletics, CAA President Mr. Hamad Kalkaba Malboum, talk to us about the state of athletics in Africa as it stands, and what picture are you looking at 5 years later?
Yeah, athletics in Africa is strong. We are able to organize our major events in time. Like this year, we will have the under-20 and under-18 African Championship in Nigeria. Next year, we will have the senior in Ghana. In 2027, we will go back to Algeria to organize the under-18 and under-20. And then 2028, we will have the senior championship in Gaborone in Botswana. Well, by this program, we can increase our performance. And at the same time, we are considering the fact that within the British Federation, they are identifying young talent every year within the national program, within the scholarship championship. And so the athletics in Africa is in good standard.
Live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time. Benjamin Moshatama and Palesa on the move.
Thank you, Musibudi, for that sports update. Let's get our latest in business with Chandu Kolikeke.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Palesa. Good morning. Chad's Finance Minister Tahir Hamid Ngulin says the National Development Plan seeks $30 billion in public and private investments as it pursued growth in areas including digitalization and infrastructure. The plan, called Chad Connection 2030, is backed by the International Monetary Fund, which last month reached an agreement with the country for a 4-year financial support program worth about $630 million, and by the World Bank. It will be launched in September in Abu Dhabi and aims to conclude deals with investors in sectors including roads, electricity, and digital economy. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the Ethiopian authorities have reached a staff-level agreement on economic policies to conclude the third review of the 4-year $3.4 billion extended credit facility arrangement. The IMF says Ethiopia's macroeconomic performance has exceeded program expectations, with better than forecast results for inflation, export growth, and international reserves. Mered Fikire Johannes, founder and CEO of Pragma Investment Advisory, explains.
So this is the fourth disbursement, the fourth expected disbursement, and the third review by the IMF program. And now that authorities and the IMF staff have reached an agreement. However, one thing is anticipated is the IMF executive board to approve it, so that Ethiopia would get a fourth disbursement of $260 million, which is around 191 HDR.
The South Sudan economy is facing major challenges, with the war in that country making the situation worse. Oil exports are under threat, with major investors pulling out and international loans drying up. Internal government dysfunction is also contributing to the crisis. An expert on Sudan and South Sudan and associate professor at the Center for Peace and Security at Coventry University, Jan Pospisil, weighs in.
So the interesting question is now why this year's budget for the first time even works with such a huge deficit and has these oil revenues for the first time actually at that low level, which is closer to reality than ever before. This is a valid question to ask, especially when you go historically through South Sudanese budgets, and given also the high level of corruption there, this budget is basically kind of numbers that are pretty random.
Egypt's annual headline inflation is forecast to have heated up in May, driven mainly by an unfavorable base effect. The state statistics agency KEPMES says it will release inflation figures today, 6 days earlier than usual, due to the Eid al-Adha holiday that begins tomorrow. Shri Virinshi Kadiala of Abu Dhabi's ADCB says the bank is expecting the headline CPI to accelerate to 15.5% for May from 13.9% for April, primarily due to unfavorable base and some residual impact from energy price hikes undertaken in mid-April. South African supermarket retailer Spar Group reported a marginal decline in half-year earnings as group revenue from continuing operations remained steady at $3.70 billion. The retailer says headline earnings per share, the main profit measure in South Africa from continuing operations, fell by 0.4% to 450 cents in the 26 weeks ended on the 28th of March, down from 451.9 cents a year earlier. Let's have a look at financial indicators this morning. $1 in Nigeria is at 1,000 naira 580, Botswana 13.27, Kenya the dollar is at 128 shilling 4, Zambia 26 kwacha 74, BRICS countries $1 in Brazil is at 5 real 66, Russia 78 rubles 88, India 85 rupee 58, China 7 yuan 19, South Africa 17 rand 86 cents. $1 is at 73 pence to the British pound and 87 to the euro. Commodities: gold is at $3,355, platinum at $1,076 per ounce, the price of Brent crude oil at $65.42 a barrel. That is all for now. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chanduko Ligege.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. The EU-African SME Summit. Join more than 200 change makers from June 19 to June 21 at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. It's where trade meets transformation. We are building Africa's future through AFCFTA, the EU's global gateway, and the power of small businesses. It's an opportunity to spark collaboration and unlock Africa's investment. Presented by the European Entrepreneurs, the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Shared Value Africa. This is a summit not to be missed. Register now at euafricasmesummit.eu. Africa, meet Abedi.
Yeah, that's me.
Abedi is a music lover through and through.
I really love African music.
He's got a taste for all kinds of tunes and spends his days listening to Channel Africa. Guess what? He didn't know.
Okay.
Channel Africa wants to help Abedi and all music lovers everywhere to discover even more incredible music. That is why Channel Africa is calling on all African musicians to submit their music. Musicians, remember to give us all your information. Make your submissions at music@channelafrica.co.za. Submissions are your chance to be heard on radio. But sadly, they do not guarantee that you'll be playlisted. All submissions will be carefully reviewed to see if they meet our station's requirement. Channel Africa, the African Perspective. Benjamin Moshatama and Palesa on the move.
Also for the street, I can scatter everything on the legit. As encourage enjoyment, you talk say he dey kill. Under fire, the person where they be for. Suffer no they tire you. Hunger no they wire you. It be like country no they hammer you. Shake no they shake you. Shake it up for over. If you want know the cocoa, it go make you the loco. Plenty blessings, plenty the follow. Sure you think say I don't know, no be today. I remember Sakpa used me they play. I've been this over, they hustle for the street. I can scatter everything on the legit. As encourage enjoyment, you talk say he dey kill. Under fire, the person where they be for. I've been this over, they hustle for the street. I can scatter everything on the legit. As encourage enjoyment, you talk say he dey kill. Under fire, the person where they be for. Away. Allow me enjoy. Allow me enjoy. Allow me enjoy. Allow me enjoy. Away. Allow me enjoy. Allow me enjoy. Allow me enjoy. Allow me. All your friends go gather you. Grace and blessings cover you. You see this life, make money, drop money, enjoy yourself. Problems no they finish you. If you want know the cocoa, it go make you the loco. Plenty blessings, plenty the follow. Sure you think say I don't know, no be today. I remember Sakpa used me they play. I've been this over, they hustle for the street. I can scatter everything on the legit. As encourage enjoyment, you talk say he dey kill. Under fire, the person where they be for. I've been this over, they hustle for the street. I can scatter everything on the legit. As encourage enjoyment, you talk say he dey kill. Under fire, the person where they be for.
It's Rude Boy. This one is titled Enjoyment right here on Channel Africa, giving you the African perspective. We continue with today's conversations, speaking about mental health advice on social media. I think it's great to see that people are sharing more and more, and that is an avenue of breaking down mental health stigmas. But it's so important to be careful what you take in and what you use. Recently, I've been seeing something trending when it comes to people who have anxiety and people saying, I take something called ashwagandha or something like that. Let me just make sure what this is called. And apparently it can be found like at your local store. So it comes from the ashwagandha plant, but I think they've made it into like supplements at the store.
What's an ashwagandha plant?
I have no idea. I just see it now. It just looks like a plant. Yeah, it's like a root. Okay. But there are so many supplements from that root in our different like convenience stores and pharmacies, etc. And people have started they use it for anxiety. So when people have anxiety, they take this ashwagandha. But I think it's dangerous to say, hey, if you have anxiety, take ashwagandha, because you don't actually know, first of all, everything about its root and its properties. You might even be allergic to it as an individual. And if it doesn't help with your anxiety and your anxiety spikes because you're not finding a way to treat it, you're not finding a way to, first of all, diagnose it, then you might actually be in a lot of trouble. And this is just but one example. We see so many people giving mental health tips. It's amazing, but it's also dangerous at the same time. And it's important to also be discerning on social media. People say this all the time. It's important to be discerning on social media, because you can't just take a sip of everything because they say, hey, this is going to help with this is going to help with that. When people speak about their own social mental health experiences on social media, take it as that. Take it at this individual's experience, right? And it's good that this person is breaking stigmas of speaking out about mental health by sharing their own experience. But that doesn't mean it can be correlated in any way to your own personal experiences. When you can, if you can, I know it's a luxury for many, find a professional in any space.
Yeah, that's good advice, buddy. You should be a doctor.
Maybe. I should be a doctor, heal myself from the flu first, and then go into therapy.
Well, what's your take on that one? Do you actually buy what you see or hear on TikTok, especially when it comes to serious things like health issues or mental health conversations? Let us know what your approach is on this one. How do you relate to advice on mental health on social media? +27 63 406 9126. You can text us or voice note us there. Let's take a break. We'll be back.
Tune in and turn up the volume. This is Channel Africa.
Jacob. Piti waka sajalwazi nebo jamunda zingonderera ngeri
Color Vue d'Afrique with Joel Motema. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochi Tika 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones. On air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palesa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepu Kholikweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tamengubene Talks Money, Africa in Business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochi Tika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones. On air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palesa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepu Kholikweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tamengubene Talks Money, Africa in Business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color.
It's past 9 o'clock Central African time. That is one titled Njanlala. You are listening to Channel Africa on our different platforms. And remember, the SABC Plus app is pretty reliable. I'm actually on the website, the way that you can actually use. It's sabcplus.com. You can check out all our streaming and our podcasts. You know, we've got that wonderful podcast by Peter Ndoro. And yeah, man, you've got so many things right here that you can check out on that radio station section. So just make sure that you sign up for that one, and then you can get into Channel Africa's content. And yeah, man, I'm looking forward to these many conversations that we are going to be having today. And one that stands out is our Live Well. And, you know, there's so many disorders, right, that we don't really know about. And when it comes to even illnesses, it's something that we always have to learn our bodies and things that actually come into our lives in different ways. Today, we're going to be looking at something that actually affects 1.6 billion people in the world. And that's thyroid disorders. 1 in 8 women will develop a thyroid disorder in their lifetime. And today we're going to be observing International Thyroid Awareness Week. And it was actually observed just a week ago. It's a global initiative that's aimed at raising awareness for thyroid health and the significant effects that undiagnosed or inadequately treated thyroid disease can actually have on a person's quality of life. So we're going to be looking at the theme this year, thyroid and artificial intelligence. We'll be speaking to Dr. Dashni Naika, who is the healthcare medical director at Merck, which is a biopharmaceutical company. So that should be a cool conversation. But coming back to this particular conversation we're having on mental health today, especially getting mental health tips on TikTok or social media. I am one person who's very reserved in many ways in terms of how I participate with social media, how I interact on social media, how much I post, but even getting some advice on social media, I'm kind of very, very conservative. In fact, I don't think, Bali, there's ever been a day where I saw something on TikTok and I was like, yeah, I believe that.
Or you're going to try it?
Or I don't.
Not a day?
In fact, I'll probably go the opposite direction.
Ben, you have a huge issue with trusting the individuals who post on social media.
Not individuals, I just don't trust social media. There's no verification, there's no fact checking. So facts are always changing. And also people do things in a rush when they do post things on social media. You see in their captions. Like, this sentence is not a sentence.
So yeah, I mean, we can't really take everything that people say on social media. There are things that you need to be a little bit more discerning about when you're going to try and implement them into your own life. There are things that I like to go get on social media, like nice new recipes, outfit ideas. That's easy because I'm like, oh, I like this outfit, I'm gonna try it. I have something similar to that. In fact, I do that on most mornings where I'm not really sure what to wear. I go on my TikTok and then I'll search maybe, let's say, a pair of pants that I want to wear, and then I'll search outfits for that pair of pants, and then I'll go through various people wearing that in different ways, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna wear it like this. So, or if I don't know what to cook for dinner, I'll go and say, hey, chicken dinner ideas or lamb dinner ideas on TikTok. And then, they'll put some ideas there, and I'll see, oh, actually, I have a few of these things. I'm going to try this meal. So there is advice that I do take from social media, from TikTok in particular, but it's not mental health advice.
It's not. That's not advice,
it's
really.
It's not.
That's more like copycat stuff.
It's not copycat. I won't wear the exact same thing that person wore because I don't have the exact same thing they have. But it's an idea. It sparks, my creativity to say, oh, okay, I actually have something similar to this, and I like this outfit. I'm going to try it.
Okay, that's interesting. I do that on Pinterest, I have to say, but Pinterest is not social media.
Pinterest is social media. It is a social media.
Other people that I follow there.
But it's a social media platform.
Oh, really?
It is a social media platform.
I thought it was more of creative board.
That is a social media platform because you're able to, there are other people on there. You go on their own Pinterest walls, you can search the things that they post there, and there are interactions. So Pinterest is a social media platform.
Okay, learning something new today. How do you interact with your social media, especially getting real-time advice, whether it's an illness, whether it's something maybe you worried about in terms of just your mental health, or just really serious things? How do you handle finding fact from fiction when you have to deal with your social media? Curious to hear from you. Remember, on +27634069126, that's where you can engage with us. Don't be shy. Also find us on our live stream on our different social media platforms. We love having you come in and out there, or you can even stay. Definitely, we want you to stay the 3 hours of the show every single day from Monday to Friday. But yeah, man, let us know where you are from when you get to that live stream, where you are listening to us from, and how you are listening to us. So it's always cool to know where you are on the African continent. We're moving into the second hour of the show. It's 10 o'clock. Let's find out what's happening in the latest news.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin. Looking at your top stories. MSF calls for urgent aid to support Sudanese refugees fleeing to Chad, and today marks the beginning of the annual Hajj pilgrimage. Your latest news. Greetings to our listeners. Doctors Without Borders have called for urgent aid to support Sudanese refugees that are fleeing to Chad. The humanitarian situation at the border between Chad and Sudan has again reached a tipping point. An estimated 40,000 Sudanese refugees have arrived in the Chad town of Tines since April. Chad is already hosting over 1 million refugees, including more than 800,000 Sudanese who have arrived since the conflict began over 2 years ago. The MFF's Pietro Maria Cotas explains.
Majority of the people that we saw crossing the Cape, they arrived in extremely bad situation, and the situation in Chad at the moment is far from being perfect, with an hosting system that is basically unexisting. Take as a starting date the beginning of the war in Sudan 2 years ago. We're talking about 800,000 Sudanese who fled the country. If we go a bit less further in time, then we can estimate around 70,000 new refugees that reached Chad, of which around 40,000 arrived in Wadi Fira. So if we talk about the transit camp where MSF is currently operating, nowadays we have around 18,000 people being there.
The United Nations World Food Programme and UNICEF have condemned an attack on a humanitarian convoy in North Darfur in Sudan. The attack, which occurred last night, saw 5 members killed and several others injured. Multiple trucks were burnt and critical humanitarian supplies were damaged. Sharon Price Peace reports that the convoy of 15 trucks was attempting to reach children and families in famine-affected El Fasher, which has been a hotbed of violence in the ongoing conflict between Sudan's armed forces and the paramilitary rapid support forces.
The joint statement said the route travelled by the convoy was shared in advance and that the parties to the conflict were notified and aware of the location of the trucks, reiterating that under international law, humanitarian convoys must be protected amid obligations to allow and facilitate rapid and unimpeded passage of humanitarian relief for civilians. The statement called for an urgent investigation and for the perpetrators to be held to account. The agencies also warned that attacks on humanitarian staff, aid, operations as well as civilians and infrastructure has continued for far too long with impunity in Sudan. Sherwin Briceby's SABC News, New York.
The United Nations General Assembly has elected Bahrain, Colombia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Latvia and Liberia to the 15-member UN Security Council for 2-year terms starting in January next year. The Security Council is the only UN body that can make legally binding decisions such as imposing sanctions and authorizing the use of force. It has 5 permanent veto-wielding members, which are Britain, China, France, Russia and the United States. The remaining 10 members are elected, with 5 new members joining every year. The General Assembly on Monday also elected former German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock as president of the 193rd member body for its 80th session, which begins in September. Today marks the beginning of the annual Hajj pilgrimage, a monumental spiritual journey that sees millions of Muslims converge on the holy site in Saudi Arabia. It's a testament of faith, unity and devotion, and for many, a once-in-a-lifetime experience. In South Africa, a contingent of pilgrims have been preparing for months. Hawa Bibi Vadwa Zayab explains.
Hajj is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. It means to go on pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca in Saudi Arabia during the stipulated days in the Islamic month of Dhul Hijjah. Hajj comprises of 4 main acts of worship which must be completed during their stipulated times in order for pilgrims' Hajj to be valid. Today is the first day of Hajj, the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. At dawn, pilgrims must take a bath and wear special clothes called ihram. We then perform 2 units of prayer and make the intention to perform Hajj. This step is the first of the 4 pillars of Hajj.
Lastly, the U.S. immigration officials have detained the family of the Egyptian man charged with carrying out Sunday's attack on a pro-Israeli rally in Colorado. The White House said his wife and 5 children could be deported almost immediately. Mohammed Suleiman is accused of attempted murder, assault and possession of an incendiary device. The Homeland Security Secretary, Christine Noem, said the family were under investigation by the department and the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency.
The Department of Homeland Security and ICE are taking the family of suspected Boulder, Colorado terrorist and the illegal alien Mohammed Suleiman into ICE custody. Now, Mohammed's despicable actions will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But we're also investigating to what extent his family knew about this horrific attack, if they had any knowledge of it, or if they provided support to it.
Recapping on your top stories, Doctors Without Borders have called on urgent aid to support Sudanese refugees that are fleeing to Chad. The humanitarian situation at the border between Chad and Sudan has again reached a tipping point. Channel Africa News, I am Onele Nzinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
6 minutes past 10 o'clock Central African time. This is On the Move with myself, Benjamin Moshatama and Palesa. Well, today we're going to be having a cool conversation. We'll be looking at something that's happening for the first time on the African continent. I love first times on the African continent, but because that means that we are trying new things, we're engaging in different ideas and really fostering paths that maybe we've never really walked on before. Today we're going to be looking at the third EU African SME Summit, which is taking place for the first time in Africa. It will be taking place from the 19th of June to the 21st, right around the corner from where we are at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Maybe it's a little bit of a drive from where we are, but it is going to be a landmark event that's going to be bringing together various stakeholders and a whole lot of people in one place. Entrepreneurs, investors, business leaders, and policymakers from the continent and Europe. So that a cross exchange of ideas should be interesting. 200 professionals are expected to be in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange in one time. Imagine Africa and Europe engaging on how to actually ensure that small and medium-sized enterprises are the backbone of Africa's development. So that should be a good conversation that's coming up just in a few minutes' time.
Absolutely. Do join us on our social media platforms. We're live on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So be a part of the Channel Africa family there. You can also find us on X. Our conversations are there. Use our hashtag On The Move and take part. We keep the conversations going, of course, moving into our Live Well feature in today's final hour. That's where we take a look at health issues across the African continent. And today we're taking a look and raising awareness on thyroid diseases. Last week was Thyroid Awareness Week, and we'll be chatting to Dr. Darshni Naika, the Healthcare Medical Director at biopharmaceutical company Merck, about the significance of thyroid health and its importance as well. So stay with us the next 2 hours. Continue with good conversations from that African perspective.
Got something to say? Are you passionate about issues that matter?
Do you have a voice that deserves to be heard?
Well, we've got the perfect platform for you. Call in or drop us a WhatsApp on +27 63 406 9126.
And we will call you back.
So you could have your say and be part of the conversation.
30 years of age. I just turned 30 on the 15th of November. So that's who I am,
It's not just talk, it's your chance to air your views.
Share your opinion.
Engage with the community that values your perspective.
Follow us on our social media.
Visit our website at www.channelafrica.co.za and get ready to share your views on Channel Africa,
the African perspective.
Hi, I'm Tammy Ngubeni, anchor of Africa in Business on Channel Africa, bringing you the African perspective.
And I'm Ashraf Garda, host of the National Pulse on SAFM, leading the conversations.
We've joined forces to bring you in-depth, exclusive G20 developments as we count down to the much-awaited inaugural G20 Summit in South Africa, November 2025.
Tune in every Thursday at 16:20 Central African Time as we explore how this first G20 in Africa impacts the continent, from trade and innovation to climate and development.
It's a powerful crossover between Channel Africa and SAFM
as we bring you the G20 through an African lens.
The G20 in Africa.
Global Summit.
An African voice.
Are you fluent in French, Chinyanja, Portuguese,
and Kiswahili?
Are you passionate about radio? And are you looking to work in South Africa? Do you have papers that qualify you to work in South Africa?
In that case,
we might have an opportunity for you to work for Channel Africa.
Send us your CV and demo
at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Remember, if you don't hear from us within 14 days, it means you have not made it or you have not been selected.
Channel Africa, the African perspective.
On the Move, weekdays, 9 a.m. to midday. Only on Channel Africa. #On the Move.
Well, the third EU African SME Summit is taking place for the very first time on African soil. It'll be taking place from the 19th of June until the 21st at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. This landmark event will bring together around 200 entrepreneurs, investors, business leaders, and policymakers from across Africa and Europe. The summit is all about scaling Africa's sustainable future through the African Continental Free Trade Area and the EU's Global Gateway Strategy. It's an opportunity to spark collaboration, unlock investment, and position small and medium-sized enterprises, or SMEs, as the backbone of Africa's development. Now, we're joined on the line by Stefan Moritz, who is the Secretary General of the EU European Entrepreneurs CEA PME. Stefan, thank you for joining us here on Channel Africa.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me here.
Tell us a little bit about the concept of the EU African SME Summit. Where did it come from?
Yeah, it came from the consideration that we, as a European Confederation of Small Medium-Sized Enterprise Associations all over the continent in Europe, thought that our neighbor is not only West and East, but it's especially Africa, and that we have great opportunities to work together in many fields, from agriculture to industry to digital. And we wanted to make this, let's say, a game not only of governments or big companies, big corps, but to be, let's say, as small and medium-sized enterprises immediately in the middle of the game. And also because we will create, let's say, resilient and long-term relationships on eye level between entrepreneurs that strike deals and make it really alive, the real cooperation between companies across two continents.
Yeah, and the focus of small medium enterprises is an interesting one. Tell us a little bit about the potential you see there between Europe and the African continent.
Yeah, first of all, I mean, there are many advantages, of course, for both from the economic point of view, let's say, the necessity, let's say, to access each one's markets, but maybe also exchanging on technology and on labor force, which we are lacking in Europe, but we have, of course, let's say, advanced brands and products. That can be not only sold to Africa, but we have to be produced in Africa for the African market in order to be competitive. But let's say the most important thing of the aspect of the SME, of the Entrepreneurs Corporation, is, let's say, the fact that small medium-sized enterprises do business as local. That means you don't come with a helicopter, do some investment here, look if it's good, and then you go away if it's not good.
Yeah.
Normally, small medium-sized enterprises go and stay because they have then local clients, they have local employees, they have local partners, and they produce for the people in the place. And the local means, of course, often also more than one only. You can also be local in many places nowadays in globalization and with modern transport and digital technologies. But you are still linked to the personal relationship. And that is very important because that makes the relationship and the business resilient and sustainable.
Yeah, because sometimes when we see the potential of business sectors, we look at it from a macro environment, and I think those localized industries are as essential. Coming back to the summit, how do you think the summit will support and create opportunities for African entrepreneurs?
First of all, we exchange a little bit of our views and learn from each other about what each one expects, but also what currently is going on in terms of macro political movement in the field of business and trade. Let's say together with South African ministers, but also European representatives. The European ambassador, Mrs. Sandra Kramer, will be there. The German ambassador will be there, Andreas Peschke, and also the head of the delegation of the European Parliament, for South Africa. Mr. Udo Bullmann will also come in person to join us in Johannesburg. And we will also have representatives of the European Director General for International Partnerships. But then, let's say the second day, the first afternoon is focused on this. The second day, we will have 300 entrepreneurs, not 200, 300. We are already over 300 registrations.
Fantastic. That's great news.
Yeah. And with at least 25 entrepreneurs pitching their business ideas for innovation in several sectors, in 7 different sectors, like access to energy, access to water, access to finance, intellectual property, digital for development, and so on and so forth. And these entrepreneurs will have the chance also to answer the questions of the audience, but also to then do business to business relationships. And we have here representatives from all over Africa, from Europe, and of course many from South Africa.
You know, the benefit of this partnership is also how Africa can gain from the European Union's strength, because we know that the movement of goods is very efficient there. The collaborative business networks are fantastic. That is actually, through how the European Union has been formed. And that's what we're trying to also foster as the African continent with our free trade area plan. I'm sure that's going to be another very strategic conversation.
Yeah, that's what we hope. But not only that you copy us, but that you do better than we did.
Sure.
Because we did a lot of bureaucracy in Europe, and our single market is still, after 30 years, not really perfect. Unfortunately, for many small and medium-sized enterprises, the single market is considered not a single market, but 27 markets, because of bureaucratic hurdles, because every country wants to protect its, domestic industries and sectors and privileges of certain business categories and whatever. So what we here in Europe are advocating as a confederation of companies towards the European Commission and towards the 27 member states of the European Union is to accept, for example, the once only principle. That means once a product is certified in one country, it should be automatically admitted to all markets in the single market. Same thing is once you have one business study, university certificate or training degree, this should be also accepted in all other countries, and so on and so forth. In order that we unify from the bottom, not from top down, and that would also avoid a lot of bureaucracy.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of the same red tape here on the African continent that we're trying to also, really untangle ourselves from. But let's talk a little bit about that. The EU European Entrepreneurs. Tell us a little bit more about that organization and some of the work that you do.
Yeah, we're a lobby organization, of course. We advocate for the interests of 1.5 million companies all over Europe, which are normally between one-man companies, one-woman companies, up to also 3,000 employees, because we also represent the mid-caps, the so-called mid-sized capitalized companies. What is, let's say, our principle is that the companies are managed by the owners. It's not a question of statistics, it's a question of management style. When the owners still manage their company, they normally know their employees, they put a little piece of their heart in the company, they do it with passion, and of course they do also take irrational decisions, but they look forward for a generation to maintain this company active, and also maybe to hand it over to their children, possibly. So that's a totally different way of doing business than maybe big corporations, which have shareholders, which employ a manager, and the manager, even if it does wrong, takes anyway a bonus.
Well, Stefan, let's take a bit of a break there, but that's fantastic because that's also all about legacy building there. We're speaking to Stefan Moritz, who is Secretary General of the EU European Entrepreneurs CEA PME. They'll be part of the third EU African SME Summit taking place for the first time here in Africa. It'll be taking place right here in Johannesburg, South Africa, where we're broadcasting from. We're going to get the finer details after our break of who can participate and who are the key stakeholders.
The Midnight Snack, 12 to 3 a.m.
Interracial relationships. And now you are based in the States and you are married to a beautiful white woman, white lady.
I learned that, for us in our culture, we literally can speak our mind. I remember when we started dating and whatnot, and, she picked up like a little bit of weight. And me, I was like, oh, wow, you must be happy in this relationship because look at you. You look great. You're even picking up some weight. And she got really, really offended. And it took I think it was about a couple of hours before I could realize that, because I could tell that she was off after that. And it took me a while to figure out what it was. Until later when I was talking to her, I'm like, you're really, really off today. And then she expressed that, because you're telling me that I'm picking on some weight. And I'm like, in my culture, when you are gaining some weight, it means you're happy. Yes. So that's what I was trying to imply.
The Midnight Snack, every Monday, 12 to 3 a.m. with Chanduko Ligege. Keeping you on the know and on the move.
Hey, it's an exciting conversation we're having today, looking at the third EU African SME Summit taking place in Johannesburg at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. It's taking place in a few days' time from the 19th to the 21st of June. It is an event that aims to bring over 300 entrepreneurs, investors, business leaders, and policymakers from across Africa and Europe. It's great to see that that particular estimation we had of 200 was incorrect. And Stefan said, actually, people actually have been very interested and keen with this particular summit to a point that now they're hosting 300 stakeholders here. Stefan, let's talk a little bit about who are the key participants, and if someone is listening to us right now and saying, hey, I also maybe want to be part of this, maybe I won't be able to make it to the event. Is there an online platform? What is the structure of the summit going to look like?
Yeah, the first day, on Thursday 19th in the afternoon, we meet at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, only with the registered participants, of course. So please register now on EU African SME Summit. One word, no dots, no dashes, EU African SME Summit.eu, like European Union. Where you can register now currently for a very discounted price of $25 for 2 days. That is, let's say, the last opportunity, because on Friday we close the registration. So today and tomorrow and Friday is the last possibility. And then we have in the afternoon, let's say, several welcoming speeches and opening addresses by high-level speakers, and two panels, one focused on exactly the free trade area for Africa and the European Global Gateway Initiative, and another panel focused on energy for all. That means, let's say, access to energy and how to manage that on the African continent. And then on the day 2, on Friday 20th, again at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, we will do the whole day several panels, workshops, and also innovators pitches on different business topics. The whole program agenda is, again, let's say, to be seen and found on the website EU African SME Summit.eu, and you can also find the speakers there. From let's say all the speakers, not only the the politicians, but also the entrepreneurs that will join us. For example, also Afrexim Bank has joined us just these days, decided to join us, as well as the German corporation GIZ, and we have as partners also the European African Business Facility, and also the European Intellectual Property Office, which has a African IP help desk open for all African companies to learn about intellectual property protection and using intellectual property as an asset for their business. And that is very important, let's say, for especially also for designers, for software producers, and so on. So let's say that would be surely a great opportunity also to learn.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to ask about.
Hundreds of other people from different countries and businesses where you can try to do business with.
That's what I wanted to ask you about, because the SME environment is very broad. Which sectors or industries will be participating in the pitching sessions, or some of the sessions represented?
We focus mainly on, let's say, digital. We have a lot of digital entrepreneurs there. On industry, but that have many solutions for different aspects like energy, water, health, and so on. But we also have as partners several organizations that deliver and offer professional training solutions, which are for one hand interesting for the companies because they need qualified people, and on the other hand side also interesting for the learners that might find opportunities and good ideas how to develop their capacities, their careers in future, and so on.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. Looking forward to seeing the fruitfulness of this particular summit. Stefan, thank you for joining us here on Channel Africa.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
That's Stefan Moritz, who is the Secretary General of the EU European Entrepreneurs, CEA PME. They're part of the key stakeholders of the 3rd EU African SME Summit.
Start your day right with Channel Africa Breakfast.
That smells delicious.
Live 5 days a week. The Freak with Joel Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochi Tika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some Lucifer knowledge. Kalodiscopia, 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana, 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palesa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepuho Likweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. The Freak with Joel Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochi Tika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some Lucifer knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana.
Some beautiful music there after a really good conversation right here on Channel Africa. But now it's time for our latest sports news with Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Palesa. Now, FIFA's billion-dollar gamble to revolutionize club football begins this week on Sunday with plenty of cash up for grabs but questionable enthusiasm as 32 teams prepare to contest the expanded FIFA Club World Cup in 12 stadiums across the USA. The tournament, designed as a glittering curtain raiser to the 2026 FIFA World Cup, has had to contend with the prospect of empty seats along with controversial qualification rules and player welfare transfer concerns after an exhausting European season. Now, Lionel Messi's Inter Miami face Egypt's Al Ahly in the opening fixture on the 14th of June in Miami, with tickets still widely available, while FIFA's website shows seats can still be bought for the July 13 final at New Jersey's MetLife Stadium. Now, FIFA also said it was normal policy not to reveal details of ticket sales ahead of the tournament, but also pointed to the fact that tickets have been sold to fans in more than 130 countries as evidence of the board's appeal to get people to buy tickets into this competition. Now, Inter Miami controversially gained their slot by topping Major League Soccer regular season standings, despite then losing in the first round of the playoffs in a decision critics say showed FIFA's desperation to have the Argentina great at this showpiece, of course, the FIFA Club World Cup. While Kenya's Michael Olunga has officially left Qatari giants Al Duhail, bringing an end to a remarkable 4.5-year spell that saw him become the club's all-time top goal scorer with 130 goals. Al Duhail confirmed the striker's departure in a heartfelt statement that was posted on their official website, praising Olunga's professionalism, discipline, as well as immense contribution to the club's recent successes. Olunga joined the Qatari side from Japan Kashiwa Reysol in January of 2021 and then hit the ground running. Reflecting on his departure, Olunga expressed pride in what he achieved during his time in Doha. The Nairobi-born striker also left the door possibly open for a return at the club, hinting that he could one day rejoin Al Duhail in a different capacity. Well, in case you missed it, Indian superstar Virat Kohli was overcome with a lot of emotion as the Royal Challengers Bengaluru finally broke the IPL duck with a 6-run win over the Punjab Kings in the final at the Narendra Modi Stadium in the city of Ahmedabad on Tuesday night. It saw them finally lift the title for the first time after a long 18 years since the IPL was first launched back in 2008. Only 2 teams from the first edition, the losing finalists, the Punjab Kings, as well as the Delhi Capitals, are yet to lift the famed trophy. But no player could be more worthy than Kohli, who had been one part of this team right from the start of the IPL about obviously 10 years ago, and more than 10 years ago, one of the long-standing members of this team, and having won so many trophies in different competitions, he believes that this one is one of the best as well to be added to his trophy cabinet. A number of former RCB stars were also at the game to watch and then finally lift the line and get over the line, including former Proteas legend A.B. de Villiers, as well as former West Indian cricket legend Chris Gayle. And Kohli had also some special words for his good friend A.B. de Villiers, who he embraced on the field after that match last night out in India. In tennis news now, the 7th seed Madison Keys will face 2nd seed Coco Gauff today in a high-stakes Roland Garros quarterfinal. Keys has cruised through the rounds, beating the likes of Dira Savia, Katie Bolter, as well as Hailey Baptiste in straight sets. Though she stumbled against Sophia Kenin in the 3rd round, she had a strong comeback for a win. Meanwhile, Gauff has been flawless in her matches, defeating Olivia Kedeki, Teresa Valentova, Maria Buzukova, as well as Ekaterina Alexandrova without dropping a set, signaling her confidence as well as her peak form. Neither player has yet matched their best Roland Garros runs. Keys reached the semi-finals back in 2018, while Gauff was a finalist in 2022. As they meet for this crucial clash later on today, both are hungry to make deeper inroads at the French Open and get a shot to the trophy, and Keys know what she's up against in today's quarterfinal clash.
I think Coco is obviously pretty dominant on clay. I would say it's probably one of her best surface to play on. So it's obviously a big challenge. I think for me, it's going to be a lot about trying to balance going after things, but knowing with her ability to cover the court, you're going to have to win the point multiple times.
We'll stay with tennis news. Australian kid Nick Kyrgios says he will miss this year's Wimbledon after suffering a small setback on his latest return from injury. Kyrgios, who was beaten in the 2022 final at the All England Club by Novak Djokovic, has played very little tennis over the past 2 years because of a troublesome wrist that required surgery. In March at the Miami Open, the 30-year-old won his first singles match since 2022, but later pulled out of the French Open with a knee injury, where he was scheduled to play in the men's doubles. Wimbledon will get underway on the 30th of this month. It's a wrap from the sports desk at the Sawa. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, our email address is newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Este é o Caleidoscópio de Canal África, com Remo Samo e João Yabalá.
O surto da cólera em Angola tem causado grande preocupação, afetando já mais de metade das províncias do país. Simultaneamente, a Agência dos Estados Unidos para o Desenvolvimento Internacional, USAID, um dos maiores doadores mundiais de assistência humanitária, decidiu não priorizar os países com maior incidência de malária. Para discutirmos as causas do alastramento da cólera em Angola e os impactos dessa decisão da USAID, convidamos o Dr. Jeremias Agostinho, médico e mestre em saúde pública, para partilhar a sua visão sobre o tema.
A doença, nesse momento, representa o maior risco de saúde pública que nós temos. Nos últimos anos, a nossa preocupação esteve sempre centrado com os casos de malária, os casos de tuberculose e também de infecção por VIH-Sida. A forma como, em pouco menos de 2 meses, os casos de cólera vêm aumentando, acaba por representar, nessa altura, um dos maiores desafios que o país tem. É expectável que, nesta fase, o número de casos venha a aumentar.
De segunda a sexta-feira, às 20 às 21 horas locais, este é o Caleidoscópio de Canal África.
No time to waste. Be on the move with Benjamin Moshatama and Palesa.
Thank you, Musibudi, for that sports update. As we keep things moving, Chanduruko Ligege is back with our latest business news.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Palesa. Good morning. Chad's Finance Minister Tahir Ahmed Ngulin says the National Development Plan seeks $30 billion in public and private investment as it pursues growth in areas including digitalization and infrastructure. The plan, called the Chad Connection 2030, is backed by the International Monetary Fund, which last month reached an agreement with the country for a 4-year financial support program worth about $630 million and by the World Bank. It will be launched in September in Abu Dhabi and aims to conclude deals with investors in sectors including roads, electricity, and the digital economy. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the Ethiopian authorities have reached a staff-level agreement on economic policies to conclude the third review of the 4-year $3.4 billion extended credit facility arrangement. The IMF says Ethiopia's macroeconomic performance has exceeded program expectations with better than forecast results for inflation, export growth, and international reserves. Mered Fikire Yohannes, founder and CEO of Pragma Investment Advisory, explains.
So this is the fourth disbursement, the fourth expected disbursement, and the third review by the IMF program. And now that authorities and the IMF staff have reached an agreement. However, one thing is anticipated is the IMF executive board to approve it, so that Ethiopia would get a fourth disbursement of $260 million, which is around 191 HDR.
Egypt's annual headline inflation is forecast to have heated up in May, driven mainly by an unfavorable base effect. The State Statistics Agency, CAPMAS, says it will release inflation figures today, 6 days earlier than usual. due to the Eid al-Adha holiday that begins tomorrow. Sri Virinshi Kadiala of Abu Dhabi's ADCB says the bank is expecting the headline CPI to accelerate to 15.5% for May from 13.9% for April, primarily due to unfavorable base and some residual impact from energy price hikes undertaken in mid-April. The South Sudan's economy is facing major challenges with the war in that country, making the situation worse. Oil exports are under threat with major investors pulling out and international loans drying up. Internal government dysfunction is also contributing to the crisis. An expert on Sudan and South Sudan and associate professor at the Center for Peace and Security at Coventry University, Jan Pospisil, weighs in.
So the interesting question is now why this year's budget for the first time even works with such a huge deficit and has these oil revenues for the first time actually at that low level, which is closer to reality than ever before. This is a valid question to ask, especially when you go historically through South Sudanese budgets, and given also the high level of corruption there, this budget is basically kind of numbers that are pretty random.
Volvo Cars sold approximately 60,000 cars in May, down 12% from a year earlier. In a statement, Volvo Cars says sales of fully electric cars fell 27% to account for 21% of total sales volumes. Under pressure from U.S. President Donald Trump's new tariffs last month, Volvo Cars said it would cut 3,000 jobs as it grapples with high costs, a slowdown in electric vehicle demand, and trade uncertainty. Let's have a look at financial indicators this morning. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 580, Botswana 13.27, Kenya the dollar is at 128 shillings 04, Zambia 26 kwacha 74. BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 real 66, Russia 78 rubles 88, India 85 rupee 58, China 71.19, South Africa 17 rand 86 cents. $1 is 73 pence to the British pound and 87 to the euro. Commodities: gold is at $3,355, platinum at $1,076 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil $65.42 a barrel. That is all for now. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chanduko Ligege.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. Africa at Play with NETO chairman.
The Confederation of African Athletics, CAA President Mr. Hamad Kalkaba Malboum, talk to us about the state of athletics in Africa as it stands, and what picture are you looking at 5 years later?
Yeah, athletics in Africa is strong. We are able to organize our major events in time. Like this year, we will have the under-20 and under-18 African Championship in Nigeria. Next year, we will have the senior in Ghana. In 2027, we will go back to Algeria to organize the under-18 and under-20. And then 2028, we will have the senior championship in Gaborone in Botswana. Well, by this program, we can increase our performance. And at the same time, we are considering the fact that within the Police Federation, they are identifying young talent every year within their national program, within the scholarship championship. And so the athletics in Africa is in good standard.
Live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time. The EU African SME Summit. Join more than 200 change makers from June 19 to June 21 at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. It's where trade meets transformation. We are building Africa's future through AFCFTA, the EU's global gateway, and the power of small businesses. It's an opportunity to spark collaboration and unlock Africa's investment. Presented by the European Entrepreneurs, the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Shared Value Africa. This is a summit not to be missed. Register now at euafricasmesummit.eu. Benjamin Moshatama and Palesa on the move. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palesa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepuho Likweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joël Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palesa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepuho Likweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joël Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palesa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else.
Together to say, Umuz Esentine, that's a house in Sandton. You know, we promised each other so many things. We're in love. I'm going to buy you a beautiful house in Sandton. There's another song that says, Ngizokutengela ibhanoyi. That means, I'm going to buy you an airplane. Imagine just buying someone an airplane. And that same person saying that they're going to buy you an airplane doesn't even have a car. But hey, we're promising anyway, because look, love is love, and it is what it is. It's 10:49 Central Africa time. We're about to take a short break before we continue with the conversations of the day. Stay with us right here on Channel Africa.
Hi, I'm Tami Ngubeni, anchor of Africa in Business on Channel Africa, bringing you the African perspective.
And I'm Ashraf Garda, host of the National Pulse on SAFM, leading the conversations.
We've joined forces to bring you in-depth, exclusive G20 developments as we count down to the much-awaited inaugural G20 summit in South Africa, November 2025.
Tune in every Thursday at 16:20 Central African Time as we explore how this first G20 in Africa impacts the continent from trade and innovation to climate and development.
It's a powerful crossover between Channel Africa and SAFM
as we bring you the G20 through an African lens.
The G20 in Africa.
Global Summit.
An African voice.
We are up. We are ready. We are on the move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama on Channel Africa.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not having the best of weeks. Not at all. I'm very, very sick, and I don't feel good.
Sorry, girl.
Excuse me, I don't feel good at all.
Yeah.
Like, physically, I am a mess.
Uyakoisha.
I am going through the most.
Yeah.
I'm so sick, and I know there's been a flu going around, but that happens a lot during the change of season, especially around this time of the year. A lot of people feel sick, and there's the thing where if you feel sick, like I am, or sometimes if you just feel emotional, you take that and you make it like your entire life story at that particular time, right? So just because I'm feeling sick, it's easy for me to feel like I have this terrible life and everything is going down the drain. Oh my goodness, I don't even know why I'm here. And it's so easy as well when you're going through anything else that you know anyone else could be, and you make that your entire life story. So this week on our TikTok feature, I know it's a little bit corny, but I was looking for something a little bit more motivational. It is the first week of a new month, the month of June, and the month of June here on the African continent in particular is the beginning of the colder months.
Yes.
And usually when we're colder we feel a little sadder. The sun just does something great for our mood.
Yeah, and we're always just like out and about.
Yes, the sun does something great for our mood, but the colder it gets, we start getting a little bit into our own heads and feeling like things are just not going so well. So this is what I found on today's TikTok feature, and hopefully, like it did for me, it can cheer you up a little bit. It might be a bad day, but it's not a bad life.
What's the best that could happen? I think you should focus on that this week. In any scenario, in any interaction, in anything you do this week, what is the best that could happen from that situation? Our minds are wired to focus on negative or fear the worst to keep us safe. But if we give all of our energy to thinking about what's best, and the outcome that does the amazing thing for us, then we'll spend less time fearing what's going to happen and more time looking forward to it. I bet there are things in your life that have happened that you couldn't believe. You couldn't believe it happened to you. It's so amazing, and you couldn't even dream that thing up. One of those can happen this week. One of them will happen this week if you focus on what the best is that can happen from everything you do. Stop fearing what can happen from that conversation with a person, or if you ask this question, or if you try this new thing. Think about the best possible outcome. You try that new thing and you love it, and it's amazing. And you meet new people through it. Or you speak to that person you've always wanted to, and it goes better than you could ever imagine. What's the best that could happen? Focus on that this week.
It's definitely something that I'll be doing this week, focusing on what's the best that could happen. Even if I'm not feeling too great, I think it's important to just redirect my mindset and think, okay, it might be a bad few days, but it's definitely not all so bad.
You can always get better, Pali.
I could always get better.
Yeah,
and
that's the only possibility.
Well, hopefully that
keep
motivates
drinking
you a
your
little bit.
concoctions.
I will.
and
I have
you'll
so
get
many.
better.
I have so many concoctions. I drank the worst one yesterday. What's it called in English? I drank the umhlonyan,
Oh yeah.
which is a herb that we use here to it's a flu herb apparently, and that thing tastes
so ugly,
terrible.
I never drink that.
Oh goodness, it was my first time.
Yeah.
And that thing tastes so terrible. Nobody warned me that it was gonna be so bad. Oh my goodness, I don't think I'll have the mind to do it again today.
Oh, you'll get better.
I'll just drink everything else.
Your week will get better.
10:55 Central African time. We're wrapping up the second hour of On the Move. Stay with us.
Download the SABC app and take Channel Africa with you everywhere you go. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning,
That's
and
Malay with one title, The Woman. Everything that I do is for my woman. Lucky woman, that is. Remember, you are listening to Channel Africa, and I think that inspirational corner was cool because, at this time of the year, buddy, we get really... is everything working out as I thought it would? You get that year fatigue, I hope that by now I would have done this and done that. But then you can't forget to actually observe the moments. And I think that moment whereby you are negative about what's happening in the moment, you kind of lose your momentum. It's so easy to lose what is actually possible and actually making actions to end the year strong.
That's actually quite poetic, Benji. You lose your moments, you lose your momentum. I heard that.
There is
Look
a
at you.
poet in me, buddy.
I know. I know really well.
So yeah, man, it's very interesting that we just want to encourage you just to keep going in the year, because most of the time you feel like you have nothing to give because you've had so many disappointments through the year. And another thing is that what people say, you've tried but you have failed, or you get so many discouragements around the year, or maybe things that are uttered about you that actually make your spirit feel like you can't gather any more strength. But yeah, just take each day as it comes, and don't forget to actually be kind to yourself. Self-kindness is the best thing that you can give to yourself, because outside out there you can search for kindness, but can be rare.
It's hard. It's hard out there. So just be kind to yourself. Start there.
All right, man. Let's move into the final hour of the show. It's 1100 hours Central African time. Let's get the latest news.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin. Looking at your top stories, the MSF calls for urgent aid to support Sudanese refugees fleeing to Chad, and alarm raised over tobacco industry's focus on young customers. The latest news. Greetings to our listeners. Doctors Without Borders has called for urgent aid to support Sudanese refugees who are fleeing to Chad. The humanitarian situation at the border between Chad and Sudan has again reached a tipping point. An estimated 40,000 Sudanese refugees have arrived in the Chadian town of Tina since April. Chad is already hosting over 1 million refugees, including more than 800,000 Sudanese who have arrived since the conflict began over 2 years ago. The MSF's Pietro Maria Cotas explains.
Majority of the people that we saw crossing the Cape, they arrived in extremely bad situation, and the situation in Chad at the moment is far from being perfect, with an hosting system that is basically unexisting. Take as a starting date the beginning of the war in Sudan 2 years ago. We're talking about 800,000 Sudanese who fled the country. If we go a bit less further in time, then we can estimate around 70,000 new refugees that reached Chad, of which around 40,000 arrived in Wadi Fira. So if we talk about the transit camp where MSF is currently operating, nowadays we have around 18,000 people being there.
The United Nations General Assembly has elected Bahrain, Colombia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Latvia and Liberia to the 15-member UN Security Council for a 2-year term starting in January next year. The Security Council is the only UN body that can make legally binding decisions such as imposing sanctions and authorizing the use of force. It has 5 permanent veto-wielding members, which are Britain, China, France, Russia and the United States. The remaining 10 members are elected, with 5-year new members joining every year. The General Assembly on Monday also elected the former German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock as president of the 193-member body for its 80th session, which begins in September. The United Nations World Food Programme and UNICEF have condemned an attack on a humanitarian convoy in North Darfur in Sudan. The attack, which occurred last night, saw 5 members killed and several others injured. Multiple trucks were burnt and critical humanitarian supplies were damaged. Sharon Bryce-Pearce reports that the convoy of 15 trucks was attempting to reach children and families in famine-affected El Fasher, which has been a hotbed of violence in the ongoing conflict between Sudan's armed forces and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces.
The joint statement said the route travelled by the convoy was shared in advance and that the parties to the conflict were notified and aware of the location of the trucks, reiterating that under international law, humanitarian convoys must be protected amid obligations to allow and facilitate rapid and unimpeded passage of humanitarian relief for civilians. The statement called for an urgent investigation and for the perpetrators to be held to account. The agencies also warned that attacks on humanitarian staff, aid, operations as well as civilians and infrastructure has continued for far too long with impunity in Sudan. Sherwin Bryceby's SABC News, New York.
Political analyst Tobani Zigalala in South Africa believes the deployment of Floyd Shivambu to Parliament will help strengthen the MK Party's caucus in the National Assembly. Shivambu has been removed from the party's Secretary-General's position to take up a new responsibility at Parliament in Cape Town. He defected from the Economic Freedom Fighters Party to join the MK Party in August last year. Last week, Colin Makubele succeeded Mzwanele Manyi, who was removed as the chief whip of the MK Party in Parliament. Zigalala says Shivambu's political wisdom will assist in reorganizing the MK Party's parliamentary caucus in order to maximize its functions.
even though he has been doing a very good job in trying to stabilize the MK party and transform it to a real organization. But I think also in Parliament, he can help them in terms of strengthening that parliamentary caucus, because also there's been questions about the performance of that parliamentary caucus in Parliament of the MK party. And I think adding someone like Floyd Shibambu adds a voice that can be able to strengthen and, of course, add with his intellectual prowess, because it seems also that parliamentary caucus to be reorganized in such a way that the best talents there can be seen and they can be able to do their work properly.
Lastly, anti-tobacco activists are alarmed by how the tobacco industry focuses on young customers through its marketing of new products. Research suggests that major tobacco companies are now also leveraging social media and influencers to further glamorize their products. Senior specialist at the South African Medical Research Council, Dr. Catherine Urge, says parents need to be extra vigilant and protect their children from any form of addiction.
This year's theme for the World No Tobacco Day is unmasking the appeal and exposing industry manipulation of their products to attract young people. And it's really a timely theme, because we know that there is a lot going on with the introduction of new products that have now been made to be so colorful, so attractive, both in terms of the taste and the design.
And recapping on your top stories, Doctors Without Borders has called for urgent aid to support the Sudanese refugees who are fleeing to Chad. The humanitarian situation at the border between Chad and Sudan has again reached a tipping point. Now, for any news stories you would like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us at +27 11 714 4459. Channel Africa News, I am Onele Nzinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Hey, we're at the final hour of On the Move right here on Channel Africa. It's 7 minutes past 11 Central Africa time. Thank you for taking this journey with us. If you've just joined us, where have you been? We've had such incredible conversations already. But don't worry, there's still more conversations to go. We're going into our Live Well feature in this hour of the show. That's where we take a look at the landscape of health. There are so many things that are happening in our body all the time at the same time, and most of the time we focus on those that we can see and those that we know about, like our lungs, because we know we breathe from there. When we get a flu like I have now, we know that we can take it down to our lungs. But there's so many other things that happen in our bodies that are hardly paid attention to, like our thyroids. Like, when do you even hear someone ever say something about their thyroids in a normal conversation? For me, never. I've never had a conversation where me and my friend or me and my mom or a sister or anybody were discussing our thyroids. And these are things that are functioning in our body that we actually don't pay attention to, even though worldwide 1.6 billion people are thought to be at risk of thyroid disorders. So that's quite a huge number, which sparks the need to raise awareness around thyroid diseases. Last week was International Thyroid Awareness Week, and it's important to have these global initiatives aimed at raising awareness of thyroid health, especially when it comes to the parts of our bodies that we don't know much about and we're not aware enough of. We'll be chatting in this hour of the show to Dr. Dashni Naika about the theme of this year's Thyroid Awareness Week, which is chosen by global non-profit organization Thyroid Federation International. And the theme is Thyroid and Artificial Intelligence. Healthcare Medical Director at biopharmaceutical company Merck, Dr. Dashni Naika, will be joining us in this hour of the show. Not just about the significance of this theme, but why thyroid health is important. So listen closely. I'm sure we're all learning something new today about our bodies and how these parts of our bodies really impact our health.
Yeah, man. If you've missed all our conversations, hopefully it's not all of them, but any of the conversations, remember you can find us on our podcasts on our website, www.channelafrica.co.za. That's more audio podcasts, but also we have visual podcasts on our YouTube page at Channel Africa 1, where we make sure that you can catch up on all the conversation. Remember, we have a live video stream, and we do take some of those conversations via the live video stream, and we put them on our YouTube page. Our YouTube page again at Channel Africa 1. Do check those out, but also check the audio versions of the podcasts on www.channelafrica.co.za. And as soon as you get on that platform, remember you click on programs and we'll direct you straight to our audio podcasts.
Mornings made better with Peter and Asanda on Rise and Shine.
I want the Africa that makes every single African proud of the continent and have hope. And there's so much stuff that's going on that's positive. And if we can just lock into that, Namaganjani, everyone is going to get there.
Where are we going? Where are we trying to get to?
The idea of working together, which is why I'm excited about this new voice.
And the new voice is me, Asanda Peta, broadcast journalist with about 15 years of experience on the radio space.
Welcome, Asanda. I've been waiting for you for a long time.
Were you waiting for me?
I was.
Really?
Yeah, because for 3 months I was on my own.
So be sure to tune in right here on Channel Africa Mondays to Fridays from 6 till 9 a.m. Central African Time.
If you want to know about your continent, this is the best place to start your day.
Rise and Shine on Channel Africa. Hi there. Do you want to elevate your business and give it a voice in South Africa and Africa as a whole? Well, in that case, let Channel Africa make this a possibility. Channel Africa is willing to advertise your business for as little as 30,000 rands or $1,719.18. To get access to these great rates, send all requests to mukwenata@SABC. That's MOKOENATA@SABC. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Hashtag on the move and connect with us.
Do you know which part of your body is your thyroid? Right? Not a lot of us do, right? Because there's so many parts of our bodies that are functioning every day, the ones that we see when we look in the mirror, and the ones that we know about that are inside our bodies, like our lungs, our livers. We hear a lot about those, and those can pop up in conversations every now and then. But there are parts of our bodies that we need, that have a job, that are functional, that not only don't have a lot of awareness around them, but actually impact us in great ways. Just last week was International Thyroid Awareness Week, held annually from the 25th to the 31st of May. And this is a global initiative aimed at raising awareness of thyroid health and the significant effects that undiagnosed or inadequately treated thyroid diseases can have on a person's quality of life. Worldwide, 1.6 billion people, that's quite a lot of people, are thought to be at risk of thyroid disorders, and 1 in 8 women will develop a thyroid disorder in their lifetime. So we're helping to understand the thyroid itself, thyroid diseases as well, but also try and understand this better, as well as raise awareness. We have on the line with us to help us unpack this particular conversation of the day, to understand thyroid health and its importance. Dr. Dashni Naika is the Healthcare Medical Director at biopharmaceutical company Merck. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Naika. I'll be honest, I have no idea where the thyroid is. So if I don't know, I'm sure so many people don't know as well, and they don't really understand what its function is. Many people might not even have heard of the thyroid.
Good morning, Palesa. You're absolutely correct. Not many people do know about it because it's a small organ or gland. So it's a butterfly-shaped gland, which is at the front of your neck, just below your Adam's apple or your larynx. This gland makes and releases thyroid hormones, which are thyroxine and triiodothyronine. I know it's a mouthful, however, they are known commonly as T4 and T3. And these hormones affect nearly every cell and organ in your body. These hormones will control vital functions such as your metabolism or your energy levels, your body temperature, digestion, so constipation, for example, your mood, whether you are happy or depressed, or your fertility, pregnancy, menstrual cycles, etc. So when the thyroid is not working properly, the symptoms can appear slowly, and it could seem like something is not quite right, but you can't put your finger on exactly what it is. This is referred to as the missing piece of the puzzle, because imbalances in the thyroid hormone production can lead to a wide range of symptoms for these patients. And you won't really know until it's too late. So while you might think that, oh, I'm just having an off day, it's actually not. Check it out.
Okay, well, someone would think, okay, since I'm hearing about this thyroid gland for the first time, it should probably be doing what it needs to do, releasing hormones, regulating our hormones and such. What would go wrong?
Yeah, so there are a few types of thyroid imbalance diseases. So the most common would be hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism. And then you would also get things such as thyroid nodules or even thyroid cancer. But if we go to like hypo and hyperthyroidism, it's as a result of a disorder in the thyroid hormone production and release. And then you would have either too little thyroid hormone being available in the body, which is referred to as an underactive thyroid or hypothyroidism, or you would have too much thyroid hormone being released from the thyroid gland, which is known as hyperthyroidism. So these symptoms are often considered opposites between the two conditions. Hypothyroidism would slow down your metabolism. So you would experience symptoms such as unexplained weight gain, constipation, dry skin, coarse hair, cold intolerance, excessive tiredness, and depressed mood. Whereas with hyperthyroidism, it would speed up your metabolism. So that would cause unexplained weight loss, a fast heart rate, anxiety. These patients are irritable. They have heat intolerance with an increased amount of sweating. Their hands tremble, and they may sometimes have bulging eyes, which occur with something called Graves' disease, which is an autoimmune condition.
I see. Now let's speak about these thyroid disorders. If 1.6 billion people are at risk of some sort of thyroid disorder, why is it something that many are still unaware of?
So awareness is low with regards to thyroid disease. We have these campaigns running. However, it's not top of mind. The symptoms are commonly misdiagnosed or misplaced rather, in terms of it could be something else rather than your thyroid. So it's often that people don't know that this organ could be malfunctioning. They think it's something else. If you have cold intolerance, like now with our weather being so cold, you could explain, I'm feeling cold, I'm gaining weight because it's winter. So I think when they do present to the doctors, they don't, go with the spectrum of symptoms, which could lead the doctor to think, okay, let's test your thyroid, but they go with the one or two that are most pressing at the time to them.
I see. So before we go on a break, there's so many people who might not actually realize they have a thyroid disorder. Why is this? Because, for example, if I have a lung infection, it would be easy for me to identify that this infection is a lung infection as soon as I go to a doctor, or perhaps just through how I feel. Why is it hard to put your finger on the thyroid disorders?
So based on the type of thyroid dysfunction, the most commonly overlooked symptoms would include unexplained weight changes, the digestive problems that I spoke about, excessive tiredness, hair and skin changes, cold or heat intolerance, memory problems, mood changes, and male and female infertility. These symptoms may appear slowly and be dismissed as either stress, aging, or lifestyle related.
All right, we need to take a break. Stay with us, Dr. Naika. We'll come back and speak about thyroid disorders a little bit more, how they present, how they can be diagnosed, and how one could potentially live with thyroid disorders. We'll also unpack this year's theme of International Thyroid Awareness Week, which is thyroid and AI. So we'll come back to all of those conversations after this break.
Hi, I'm Tammy Ngubeni, anchor of Africa in Business on Channel Africa, bringing you the African perspective.
And I'm Ashraf Garda, host of the National Pulse on SAFM, leading the conversation.
We've joined forces to bring you in-depth, exclusive G20 developments as we count down to the much-awaited inaugural G20 Summit in South Africa, November 2025.
Tune in every Thursday at 16:20 Central African Time as we explore how this first G20 in Africa impacts the continent from trade and innovation to climate and development.
It's a powerful crossover between Channel Africa and SAFM
as we bring you the G20 through an African lens.
The G20 in Africa.
Global Summit.
An African voice.
Benjamin Moshatama and Palesa on the move.
Hey, you are listening to our Live Well feature. This is where we want you to do exactly that, to live well. Today, helping us on our feature is Dr. Dashni Naika, the Healthcare Medical Director at a biopharmaceutical company, Merck. We're speaking on the significance of why thyroid health is important. And let's look at that in terms of what you've been highlighting, in terms of the signals of that you have a thyroid issue or condition. Because some of the symptoms are a little bit generic, how do you actually know that this has something to do with my thyroid glands? Is it difficult to pick up? How long does it take usually? Because it sounds like these could be mistaken as anything else, these symptoms that you highlighted, Doctor.
Thanks, Benjamin. So with this one, when you present to the doctor, it's important to let them know about all of your symptoms, when they started, your family history. If there's anyone in your family who has had a thyroid problem before, it's more likely that you would then have a thyroid problem. So they would then assess your risk. There's online symptom checkers, which we would get to. However, your doctor would then do a physical exam on you. They would check all your symptoms. They would check your thyroid, palpate it to see if it's enlarged or not. And then they would do a blood test to confirm whether or not you have a thyroid disorder. If the blood test comes back as being outside of the reference range, your doctor would then do further tests. If he finds a nodule based on his physical exam, he would then recommend a biopsy or imaging so that they could have the nodule tested to see if it's something like thyroid cancer or if it's a benign nodule.
Okay, let's look at the online checkers. What are those?
Okay, so Merck has developed an online symptom checker. So these are just one of the applications that could be used to assess your symptoms. We are committed to the advancement of healthcare and firm supporters of innovation and AI tools. And these online platforms would then support the early detection by asking the patient a simple sort of questionnaire where they would have to divulge whether their symptoms are true or not. These are all anonymized, though. This symptom checker is available in 25 countries and was visited by over 10 million times in the last 3 years. So they would, as I mentioned, answer the symptom checker and then be notified based on their results to seek further advice from their doctor if their risk for a thyroid disorder is high. So based on their symptoms and the physical exam, the doctor will then proceed with the management of the disease.
And who would have access to this online checker? Would normal people actually have access to it, or is it only available to
No, so anybody
professionals who
can go to
understand
it.
how to read this indicator?
No, so anybody can go to the symptom checker. It's at thyroidaware.com, which is our website. They would go on there, input the information, and then get their answers immediately of whether they need to seek further help from a doctor or not. However, if you are still concerned, we recommend that you go and seek help at your doctor and not sit at home until it's too late, where, it's more difficult to then bring you back to a normal thyroid functioning.
And let's talk a little bit about, the process of medicating a thyroid issue. Where would it start?
So once your doctor has diagnosed a thyroid problem, whether your thyroid is underactive or hypothyroid or overactive being hyperthyroid, they would then recommend the treatment options based on that. So levothyroxine replacement therapy is the standard of care for patients with hypothyroidism. It's a tablet that patients would have to take every day, and then go back to their doctor for repeat blood tests in 6 to 8 weeks after starting therapy, because the doctor would need to dose escalate to get to the adequate dose that patient's thyroid requires. So it's not a one-size-fits-all. You would need to be dose adjusted until you are stable with that. And then the symptoms actually remit, so they disappear after you are adequately treated for your thyroid disease.
And would you have to continue treatment?
Yes. So treatment with that is lifelong. Your thyroid, especially in autoimmune conditions like Hashimoto's thyroiditis, doesn't recover. So these patients would need to be on the tablet, similar to any other chronic disease like hypertension.
And before we wrap this up, let's talk a little bit about the theme of this year, as you've highlighted technological advancements in terms of looking at the symptoms of thyroid. How important is AI in this field?
The Thyroid Federation International is a global non-profit organization which selected the AI topic to raise awareness on how artificial intelligence may be used to improve the diagnostics of thyroid disease and enhance personal treatment and patient outcomes. So the Federation reports that, when I mentioned a nodule would be taken to biopsy, the diagnostic accuracy rates from images for these thyroid nodule biopsies were much higher, close to 99.7% in accuracy versus without AI technology. And when looking at thyroid care after a patient is diagnosed, digital tools such as telemedicine for regular checkups that prevents patients from spending money on unnecessary travel to and from their doctor, they can do a video call with their doctor and then get support. You also have patient portals for screening and education, patient support tools such as medication reminder apps. You would see some pharmacy chains send you SMS services to remind you to collect your medication. So that is a part of it. And then wearable devices such as smartwatches, which monitor your heart rate, sleep patterns, stress, and activity levels. These have all made a significant positive impact in patient outcomes. These reduce, as I mentioned, the travel time, and it allows patients to monitor and manage their own health effectively. If you look at a condition like hyperthyroidism, patients usually have a rapid heartbeat. If they are under control, they would then be able to monitor on their smartwatch what their heartbeat is at that stage.
Fascinating. I know that some of the tools that you've highlighted, I also use them to monitor my health conditions. Doctor, in terms of the engagement of artificial intelligence as patients, do you think that we are starting to get into it? Are we starting to actually, use some of those methods, or is it taking a bit of time?
So I think a lot of patients are already using artificial intelligence. However, they just don't recognize it. So in terms of this campaign, it's about making patients more aware of the AI that's currently being used, as well as the AI for the future. If you look at something like an AI-generated image that you would see, it looks so similar to something somebody actually created without using AI, but yet it would take a fraction of the time for AI to create that image. And that's why Merck's Missing Piece Awareness campaign for this year focuses on AI-created images, and that highlights the most common symptoms, which I mentioned are often overlooked during the initial stages of thyroid disease.
Mm-hmm. This is a very important conversation. Thank you so much, Dr. Darshni, for helping us on our Live Well feature.
Thank you for having me.
That's Dr. Darshni Naika, the healthcare medical director at biopharmaceutical company Merck, and we're speaking about thyroid health and also how artificial intelligence is also helping in that health environment. Well, it's 11:30 Central African time. We've got Musibudi Makura standing by. She's been here all morning making sure that you know what's happening in sports. Let's find out what she has for us in the latest.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you so much, Benjamin. A very good morning from the sports desk. For the final time this morning, we'll start with cricket news. So Virat Kohli said it was more for the fans after he finally won an IPL title at his 18th attempt, with Bengaluru's ecstatic supporters preparing to welcome home their hero at a victory parade. So Royal Challengers Bengaluru beat Punjab Kings by 6 runs in a roller coaster IPL final on Tuesday in Ahmedabad in front of more than 91,000 fans who erupted in joy when Kohli lifted a trophy at the world's biggest cricket stadium. The 36-year-old Kohli, the only man to have played all 18 years of the same IPL team since inaugural season back in 2008, fittingly top scored with 43 points to anger the Bengaluru side to victory. Kohli, who captained Bengaluru in 143 matches between 2011 and 2023, had been also on the losing side of 3 previous finals. Later on today, he will get to celebrate with his teammates on an open top bus tour in the southern city of Bengaluru. Many will be wearing Kohli's number 18 shirt as they celebrate their side's first IPL win in 18 years.
This win is as much for the fans as it is for the team. It's been 18 long years. I've given this team my youth, my prime, and my experience. And I've tried to win this every season that I come, and I give it everything I have. And to finally have this moment come, it's an unbelievable feeling. I never thought this day would come. I was overcome with emotions as soon as the last ball was bowled, and this means so much to me. I've just, as I said, given each and every ounce of my energy to this team.
All right, on to football news now. Zambia striker Rachel Kurunanchi says their defeat to Banyana Banyana could serve as a wake-up call. This ahead of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations tournament. Banyana Banyana defeated the Copper Queens 2-0 with goals from Bongeka Gamede as well as Jermaine Sioposenwe to be crowned 3 Nations champions at the Lucas Masterpieces Mrepe Stadium yesterday. Kurunanchi believes they remain on track in their preparations for the Continental Showpiece, but this defeat will help them address some of the shortcomings heading to Morocco.
I think they are going well, and having these 2 friendly matches, this is the eye opener to see where we are lacking and where we should work on toward to the AFCON. So I feel like this is the good motivation for the players, and knowing that losing today after doing our level best, this should keep us, should push us to work extra hard and work on our mistakes.
Now, the Bay FC striker believes they could have won the game had they converted their chances.
They gave us a good game. It was a good game, and we were winning despite missing chances. I think we need to utilize our chances so that because if we scored in the first half, I think we could have been talking about the other way, not the way it went.
On to some tennis news now. 7th seed Madison Keys will face off with their compatriot 2nd seed Coco Gauff in today's high-stake Roland Garros quarterfinal. Keys has cruised through rounds, beating Daria Savia, Katie Bolter as well as Hailey Baptiste in straight sets. Though she stumbled against Sophia Kenin in the 3rd round, she had a strong comeback for a win. Meanwhile, Gauff has been flawless, defeating Olivia Karakeke, Teresa Valentova, Maria Buzukova as well as Serbia's Ekaterina Alexandrova without dropping a single set, signalling her confidence as well as peak form. Neither player has yet matched their best Roland Garros runs. Keys reached the semi-finals back in 2018, where Gauff was a finalist back in 2022. As they meet for this crucial clash, both are hungry to make deeper inroads at the French Open and get a shot at the trophy. Keys know what she's up against in today's encounter.
I think Coco is obviously pretty dominant on clay. I would say it's probably one of her best surface to play on. So it's obviously a big challenge. I think for me, it's going to be a lot about trying to balance going after things, but knowing with her ability to cover the court, you're going to have to win the point multiple times.
Right, just speaking about that match, they are currently on centre court at the moment on the Philippe Courtrier court, and it's Madison Keys leading 4-2 in the first set of this game against Coco Gauff. Both of these players are looking to qualify for the semi-final of the second Grand Slam tournament of the year. And with that, it's a wrap of your morning sports news right here on Channel Africa. More sporting updates coming up in the next hour. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, our email address is newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. It's Channel Africa's birthday month. Happy birthday! Celebrate Africa's voice with us. Catch us on SABC Plus, DSTV Audio Bouquet 802 and Satellite Channel PAS 10. 9 to 12 midday, Central African Time. On the move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama.
Thank you, Musibudi. We keep things moving with Chanduko Ligege for our latest business update.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Palesa. Good morning. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the Ethiopian authorities have reached a staff-level agreement on economic policies to conclude the third review of the four-year $3.4 billion extended credit facility arrangement. The IMF says Ethiopia's macroeconomic performance has exceeded program expectations with better than forecast results for inflation, export growth, and international reserves. Merit Fikire Johannes, founder and CEO of Pragma Investment Advisory, explains.
So this is the fourth disbursement, the fourth expected disbursement, and the third review by the IMF. Now that authorities and the IMF staff have reached an agreement. However, one thing is anticipated is the IMF executive board to approve it, so that Ethiopia will get a fourth disbursement of $260 million, which is around 191 HDR.
Senegalese Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko says his country plans to boost tax compliance to increase revenue and reduce reliance on financing from external sources like the International Monetary Fund. Senegal is engaging with the IMF to craft a resolution following a case of misreporting of debt and deficit levels, which led to the suspension of its $1.8 billion financing program with the fund. In North Africa, data from Egypt's statistics agency shows that annual urban consumer price inflation jumped to 16.8% in May from 13.9% in April. The rise in headline inflation surpassed median forecast of a rise to 14.9%, driven mainly by an unfavorable base effect. Annual inflation has plunged from a record high of 38% in September 2023, helped by an $8 billion financial support package signed with the IMF in March 2024. Experts believe the high rate of jobless women in South Africa will remain unchanged if policies favoring women are not stringent enough. This is in response to the first quarter labor force survey that reveals that the expanded unemployment rate for women remains at 47%, while only 39% of men are jobless. Economist Dr. Ntabiseng Muliko says employment opportunities need to be inclusive and be able to cater to women's social challenges. She says more job opportunities should be made accessible to women in rural areas and townships.
The issue here is that if you don't have a widening labor employment intensity ratio, which means that the number of people entering the labor market, being hired and being able to be employed persons, irrespective of the sector, has to increase. And this is done through changing your economic policies, your industrial policies, your support for financial sector, inclusion, access to finance, that affects the outcome.
Volvo Cars sold approximately 60,000 cars in May, down 12% from a year earlier. In a statement, Volvo Cars says sales of fully electric cars fell 27% to account for 21% of total sales volumes. Under pressure from U.S. President Donald Trump's new tariffs last month, Volvo Cars said it would cut 3,000 jobs as it grapples with high costs, a slowdown in electric vehicle demand, and trade uncertainty. Let's have a look at financial indicators at this hour. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 Naira 580, Botswana 13 Pula 27, Kenya the dollar is at 128 shillings 04, Zambia 26 kwacha 74. BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is at 5 real 66, Russia 78 rubles 88, India 85 rupee 58, China 7 yuan 19, South Africa 17 rand 86 cents. $1 is 73 pence to the British pound, 87 to the euro. Commodities, gold is at $3,355, platinum at $1,076 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil at $65.42 a barrel. That is all for now. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chanduk Ligege.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Hi, I'm Tami Ngubeni, anchor of Africa in Business on Channel Africa, bringing you the African perspective.
And I'm Ashraf Garda, host of the National Pulse on SAFM, leading the conversations.
We've joined forces to bring you in-depth, exclusive G20 developments as we count down to the much-awaited inaugural G20 summit in South Africa, November 2025.
Tune in every Thursday at 16:20 Central African Time as we explore how this first G20 in Africa impacts the continent, from trade and innovation to climate and development.
It's a powerful crossover between Channel Africa and SAFM
as we bring you the G20 through an African lens.
The G20 in Africa.
Global Summit.
African Voice.
Celebrate unity, progress, and pride with Channel Africa this Africa Month.
Nowhere be like Africa. Nowhere be like home. Africa,
Listen in on SABC Plus, DSTV Audio Bouquet 802, and Satellite Channel PAS 10. 1 till 4, live and real with Tepuho Likweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tami Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochi Tika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones. On air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palesa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepuho Likweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joël Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochi Tika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some Lucifer knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones. On air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palesa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepuho Likweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joël Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochi Tika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some Lucifer knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10, we take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones. On air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palesa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepuho Likweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joël Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochi Tika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some Lucifer knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10, we take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones. On air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palesa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepu Kholikweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Moteba.
On Channel Africa, it was a beautiful double play. Started off with Seli Nyolo. Songwiseto is the name of that particular jam as well. 11:50 Central Africa time. Let's keep things moving and of course engage in today's conversations. Find us at Channel Africa 1 and of course keep joining our live streams that can be found on Facebook. We are Channel Africa, on Instagram at Channel Africa 1 as well as on YouTube. Let's keep things moving. For now, a break.
Africa, voici Abedi.
Oui, c'est moi.
Abedi est un passionné de musique dans l'âme. Il a un goût pour toutes sortes de musique et passe ses journées à écouter Channel Africa.
J'aime beaucoup la musique africaine.
Ok. Devinez quoi? Channel Africa veut aider Abedi et les mélomanes du monde entier à découvrir encore plus de musique incroyable. C'est pourquoi Channel Africa appelle les artistes africains à soumettre leur musique. Chers artistes, n'oubliez pas de nous fournir toutes vos informations pertinentes à l'email adresse musique@channelafrica.co.za. Les soumissions sont votre chance d'être entendues, mais elles ne garantissent pas une playlist. Toutes les soumissions seront soigneusement examinées pour voir si elles répondent aux exigences de notre station. Channel Africa, la perspective africaine.
Africa at Play with NATO, NETO Chairman.
The Confederation of African Athletics, CAA President Mr. Hamad Kalkaba Malboum, talk to us about the state of athletics in Africa as it stands and what picture are you looking at 5 years later?
Yeah, athletics in Africa is strong. We are able to organize our major events in time. Like this year, we will have the under-20 and under-18 African Championship in Nigeria. Next year, we will have the senior in Ghana. In 2027, we will go back to Algeria to organize the under-18 and under-20. And then 2028, we will have the senior championship in Gaborone in Botswana. Well, by this program, we can increase our performance. And at the same time, we are considering the fact that within the federation, they are identifying young talent every year within the national program, within the scholarship championship. And so the athletics in Africa is in good standard.
Live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time. 9 to 12 midday Central African Time. On the move with Palesa and Benjamin Moshatama.
Hey, we've had a good show. We're about to wrap things